All right. So we've seen pivots. Now let's see the summary. For that, let's insert a new sheet. The shortcut to insert the new sheet is Shift F11. That way I can insert a new sheet. And let's also rename this. Let's call it revenue code. I'll call it what sorry, this is revenue summary. Now, some if or some ifs formula. Okay. These two formulas I will be saying here. So it's the pretty much the same, just like here we've consolidated our data, and we are seeing it from the vast range of data over here. We'll be doing essentially the same. The only difference being we'll be using the formulas in fact instead of the pivot table. So let's just first put down the months. I'll copy the same months in order to save some time. Okay, so these are my months. Put them on. Let's see. Instead of doing paste special, I did just copy paste so that the same format is also copied. I'll put down the region names, which is India, Europe, and now let's start using the SUMIFS formula. The difference between some if and some ifs is when you want to give the computer just one condition, you use some if. When you want the computer to add a particular set of data with just one condition, you use some if. When you have a multiple conditions, more than one, you use the plural some ifs. Syntax is slightly different. We'll see as we go along. So let's start with some if. So if I want to uh, have a total of the entire Indian revenue for January 2023 using some if I'd go somewhat like this. Equal to some if just tab. The first thing, start noticing the syntax over here. First thing it asks me to select is the range. Note it's the range and not the sum range. Sum range is different, just routine range is different. So the range is essentially the column where you want the condition. Okay. In my case, since I am selecting based on region, my range would be the same column where I have the region. The condition will then be what I want the computer to select. I either manually write India with an inverted comma, or I can give it a referencing. It's good to give a referencing so that when I copy the formula to the subsequent rows, the value also copies. Last we have, so we following the syntax, we've given the range, we've given the criteria. Now we need to give the sum range. Sum range obviously would be this one. Just select it, press the enter. It gives me the January 2023 revenue of India is, bringing it in proper format, $677 million. Whether it is correct or not, uh, let's see over here only. We filter it. Yeah, yeah, $677 million. Yeah. Now I want to move this formula all towards the right and also all to the bottom. So I have to tweak my formula a bit. I go here. Let's see what all I want to change. So first column is the range column. My range column, I don't think I wish to change because whether I need whatever I need to select, it would be within this range on India, US, Europe, both are in this column itself. So I'll fix it so that it does not move both the rows and the columns. Now, the shortcut to insert the dollar sign is F4. So you go to that place where you want to insert the dollar sign and you just press F4. Okay. Uh, Revenue summary. This is my condition. Whether I want this to move or not, uh, I want the rows to, in fact, I want both to remain static. When I go to the next row, I want the row number to move. And when I go to the next column, let me fix the column, which is column A. Okay. Now, the shortcut was F4. Since by pressing F4, both the rows and columns get fixed. So if I press F4 again, I see that the dollar sign in column reference has vanished and it's only there in the row. I press it again and now it comes to what I want. Next is the uh, obviously the sum column. Sum column is the same as January. I would want it to change as I move along. So I'm not, I mean, as I move along towards the right, I would want it to change. But but if I want, if I move downwards towards the lower rows, I don't want it to change. So for now, let me fix it. I'll unfix it again when I move my formula rightward. Using the same control D function, I have brought this formula all the way to the down, depending on the this thing. Yeah, depending on the region, formula is selected. Now, since I want now the data to move right, I'll have to remove this. I want the row range to be fixed, but not the column range. Okay, select all the way towards the right and press Control R, which is the shortcut for copying the data towards the right hand side. And now we have this thing. So our revenue, the total revenue is same. Mm, what we can also do is, since we wanted the data to be presented quarterly, we can, or let's do that as a last step. Okay. Here since we have to do everything through the manual formula, we'll do it later. Uh, so we have it over here. Full year number, I can either do it through a VLOOKUP. Sorry, I either do it through my formula, or I can. This is my full year. The alternate could have been I could have just used a sum formula. Either ways, my value is the same. Okay. Uh, then what I further need is maybe I would want this categorization to go further between the product category of high, low, and high. Same towards here also. So this time I need to give the computer two conditions. One is for the region, second is for the product category. Let's name it. And so since I need to use two conditions, I'll be using the second formula called SUMIFS equals to SUMIFS. Note down the syntax over here. The first thing it wants me to select is the sum range. In case of sum if, the first thing it wanted me to select was the range, which was essentially the criteria range. Sum range was the last option. In case of sum ifs, the sum range is the first option. So let me go and select the sum range, which is the column which I want the total for. Obviously, the column V. Okay, here it is. Second is the if the for syntax is showing right over here. Criteria range. Criteria range is obviously my region was do it here. Uh, then what we have is criteria. We've given criteria range. My criteria would be India. This is the first criteria range. Second criteria range would be product category. Okay, so product category we high. Then I close the brackets. I can give as many conditions as I want in the summits. For now, I'm only giving two because I'm in need of only two conditions. But I can further introduce more conditions, and depending on my requirement, I can include and extend this formula. Enter, it gives me a revenue of $116.5 million. Let's see if it is correct. We select India from here. We select I from here. So now my total using the sum X formula is done. I can now use it further to calculate the quarterly values. And then put these over here, because since I have the quarterly values already, I don't need the monthly values. I cannot delete them like in case of pivot, because my quarterly values are driven by monthly values. So yeah, through the grouping, I have this available with me right now. We can further format it. We can uh, the better would be we use conditional formatting to better analyze this data, which we are going to learn.